Now, my habit is on the black market, and it's expensive. And I am not making money as a college student. I'm not working.
Right. Yeah, those habits, I mean, you can hundreds of dollars a day when it gets really bad.
Easily.
And the pills are expensive.
Easily. So I'm constantly on the lookout for like the get-rich-quick scheme.
We are off-site today. We have Kevin Lanning with us from Rise Above with Kevin Lanning is your podcast, yes?
Yeah, Rise Above with Kevin Lanning.
And you do similar content, addiction,
Stories
recovery?
of Adversity. It's a mental health podcast. People who have faced adversity in life, showcased resilience, gotten through it, and the tools that they implemented to get through it.
And you have some lived experience yourself, yeah?
I sure do. I'm coming up on 7 years of sobriety.
Congratulations!
Thank you, brother.
It's funny, yeah. Before the podcast, we were talking about the OxyContin days and those holy grail Oxy 80s.
Yeah, the green monsters.
The impact.
Did you have a T-shirt in the back of your car? You put it in your mouth?
For the coating.
For the coating.
Yeah,
the tie-dye shirt.
I actually used baby wipes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what I found was the most, and then I used a hose clamp to shave it down.
Wow.
Yeah. So
creative.
Yeah. No, it was good times. It was good times. But yeah, man, I'm excited to hear a little bit about your story. I don't really know a whole lot about it. So tell me what childhood was like and growing up, and how was that for you?
Of course. And really quick, thanks, Lewis, for having me on.
Sure.
I respect what you're doing in the recovery community. You're a fellow recovering addict, and there aren't many of us.
No, statistically, yeah. Most don't make it.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that don't make it to meetings, that don't get a chance at sobriety, or make it to meetings and just relapse and die, never make it back, live a life of misery. So I'm extremely grateful to be on here. And I really appreciate you asking me. And, an opportunity to share my experience so that someone else could hear it and not make the same mistakes that I made is a win across the board, even if it's just one person that we help. So I really do appreciate it. And I respect what you're doing. So, but yeah, no, I'm from New York.
Okay.
We're at the off-site location in Connecticut, so I'm not too far from home.
Yeah.
I live in Florida now. I moved down during COVID, but grew up in Long Island, New York. Had 2 older brothers. I was the youngest of 3 boys. Very active as a kid. My father played semi-pro football, and my parents did a great job of keeping us busy. Avoiding the after-school hangout crew up to no good. That was kind of their mentality, like you're going to do something.
Right. Stay involved, yeah.
Exactly. Stay involved. Don't become a dirtbag, which I soon became. But so for me and my brothers, it was football, wrestling, and then either baseball or lacrosse in the springtime.
That was your life. That was your thing.
Yeah, that was my thing. That was my identity. That was my MO from a very young age. I think I started playing football at 5 years old. Everyone plays soccer when they're very young. And then I wanted to play football. I wanted to play really bad. And it was, my parents dropped me off, there. I would go, I would play. And then I remember... my oldest brother, he made the team, but he didn't start. My middle brother made the team, started, and then I had to, in my head, stand out. I had to be better than my brothers. My father played football when he was younger, and I wanted to be, that child of his that he could talk about. And I had these expectations at a very young age, and like the fear at a very young age that I'm going to let everyone around me down. When in fact, no one had any
wasn't as
expectation.
big
It was
as
all
you
in my
thought it
head,
was.
and it was, just something that I had kind of formulated in my head. I was always a fearful child, resentful, fearful, anxiety driven, a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I went to high school, from junior high to high school, that's when I started doing well in sports, and I started excelling and started getting accolades and recognized. And I remember, and leading up to high school and in high school, I was drinking, on the weekends. Once in a blue moon, I would get hammered before school. I had my older brother, so I knew the older class, the upperclassmen.
Right.
I was smoking weed. I was dabbling.
And this is freshman year?
Yeah, this is pretty much all through high school and shit. And it didn't really progress more than drinking on the weekends and smoking weed, here and there, through high school. It was pretty under control. And it was because they say drinking, drugs, gambling, sex addiction, those are all symptoms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The problem is deep down. And, when people get sober and clean and you don't do the work on yourself and you go back out, you didn't do the step work.
Right.
You didn't do the work on yourself
Yep.
and get to the root of the problem. So for me, my symptom, the bug was there at a very young age. My symptom was the recognition that I was getting,
Right.
the popularity, that was
Feels good.
Yeah, that was the attention was filling my void. So I go on to, when I was in 10th grade, I had my older brother who was 2 years older than me, and he had his senior prom, and he put together a trip to Six Flags in New Jersey, and I went with them. This was my first consequence, from smoking weed.
Okay.
And I went there with all his friends. A couple of my friends went. There's probably 30 of us. 6 of us go off to the woods near the Lethal Weapon ride. I'll never forget it. And we're smoking weed. Well, they have fucking cameras in, the woods right there, and they see exactly what we're doing. We get completely surrounded. They had real cops there and security from Six Flags.
For smoking pot?
Smoking weed.
They
Yeah.
surrounded you?
Yeah, well, not get on the ground. No, they all just came in from all different angles.
Okay,
And they were
okay.
just all right, guys, enough. And they grabbed three of us. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 4 out of the 6 either had a fake ID or weed on them.
Okay.
The other 2 guys, they just cut loose, go wherever. And they brought us back to their security headquarters. Now, they didn't arrest us or anything. We were all underage. I was 16 at the time. And they called my parents, and an adult had to come and
Sure. Pick you
take
up.
us out of there. Yeah. And that was the first time I had I had a little run in, and I remember I got grounded for the summer, and I was you know what? I'm not going to smoke weed anymore. I ended up smoking weed probably 6 months later, but I kept myself in check after that.
I was going to ask you if it
It scared me a little bit.
Yeah, if it scared you enough to make a change.
Yeah,
At least temporarily.
Looking back at it, it was nothing.
Right.
And, but at the time, it was...
Yeah, as a
it seemed much
16-year-old.
bigger. So I go on, I end up getting a scholarship to go play football, Division I football. And I remember it was the summer going into my freshman year, summer camp. We all had to report early. And I'm the king of half measures. They sent me a workout program that I had to start a year prior, my senior year in high school, because I'd already signed and committed.
Okay.
And I didn't do any of it. I'm just fuck it.
Par for the course.
I'm gifted athletically. I could wing this shit. I don't
Right.
need to be jacked to do what I got to do. And I remember showing up that first day to training camp, and the upperclassmen got there a day or 2 earlier. And I remember walking out onto the field, and I'm 6'2". I was 6'2" then. I was probably one of the smaller ones out there. Everyone was huge. Everyone was twice my size, and everyone was 10 times faster than I was. The speed of the game.
They probably did the training regimen that they were supposed to do.
Right.
Might have helped.
Yeah. And everyone was just so much bigger and faster than I was. And I remember looking and just automatically being in fear. Like, I'm not going to be good. I'm not going to be a part of. I can't do this. And for me, I need to be the best at something. If I'm not the best, I want no part of it. It's abort. Get out of there. Whatever I have to do to get out of that situation, I will, or escape. So I go on. I end up playing. I redshirt my freshman year. And my second year, I end up getting hurt. I tear my rotator cuff.
Okay.
And I went in. I had the shoulder surgery. I get out, and it was my first introduction to opiate pain pills. When I left surgery, my team doctor did my surgery. I was prescribed pain meds. And I'll never forget. It was a Vicodin. It was a hydrocodone. Nothing too major.
Right.
But at the time, I had never done opiates in my life.
Yeah.
I took a 750 in ES. I'll never forget it. And I remember just like the warm blanket feeling. It felt so good. It was, my fears just completely went out the window. The anxiety completely out the window. The resentment towards anyone. You can do anything offensive to me and I wouldn't even hold a grudge. It's like, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It was, I could have ran for president if I really wanted to. Like, seriously, and it gave me energy.
Yeah.
So that goes on for a few months, and eventually the doctor stops prescribing me pain medication. Now, I know all the athletes on the other sports teams, so I'm going to other, who had surgery, blah, 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 hitting them up, buying their scripts.
How long were you taking it prior to going to people and trying to find pills?
Probably about 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 or 3 months. I don't remember exactly, but it was when my prescription started to run out. 2 or 3 months after surgery, you don't need pain meds anymore.
No.
And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to physical therapy. I'm breaking the scar tissue. It's painful.
So you're selling this story that you're still in pain, and that's why you need the medication. That's what you're selling.
That's the story
right.
I'm selling.
Yes.
Am I in pain? No, I'm fine.
Right.
So pain is like a week, maybe 2 weeks after the surgery. After that, you can deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not that Tylenol.
Right.
So I then start looking for other people, and that only lasts for so long. And then now I need to find out. And now it's because I remember someone had a script of Percocet, and then I started taking Percocets, oxycodones. Then I was like, wow, this is fucking better than those fucking Vicodins. Are you kidding me? And then, I'm taking 2, then I'm taking 4, then I'm taking 6. Then I'm looking on the street for people to get pain pills from. And I'll never forget, this one dude had Oxys. He had Oxy 5s, I think they were.
Okay.
I think they made 5, 10s, 20s, 40s, 80s, something like that. They were the low dose. And I took one, and it was the most fucking amazing feeling. So now my habit is on the black market, and it's expensive. And I am not making money as a college student. I'm not working.
Right. Those habits, I mean, you can hundreds of dollars a day when it gets really bad.
Easily.
And the pills are expensive.
Easily. So I'm constantly on the lookout for like the get rich quick scheme. I'm not like robbing people yet. I'm not like doing any of that shit, but I'm like, what could I do to make money I don't want to work. Fuck that.
Right.
So I'm out at a bar one night, and I meet this guy at the bar. We're just chilling, drinking, whatever, talking, and he was the manager of my school bookstore. And I'm like, dude, they fucking rip the students off, the prices that they charge, the margins that they make off of the students. Where do they get their books from? What website? What company? Let's cut the school bookstore out. Let's start our own school bookstore and fucking charge less, 20% less, and they'll buy from us, and we'll put the school bookstore right out of business. And he was like, whatever. He's like, dude, what if I told you that they keep all of their books in an off-site location in a warehouse off university? It's not on the university premises. And I have a key to that warehouse, and they don't take inventory of their books. I was like, well, what are the odds it's open this Saturday at 10 a.m. for me to go in there and take whatever books I need and to sell? And he's like, very, very good. Here's my number. Let's talk. And now him and I chilled and hung out that night. So like we had built like a rapport
Sure,
that day,
sure.
that night, and like we were talking, and we became friends. And I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, well, I need to make sure what he's saying is in fact true.
Okay.
That, you know, when these people return these stolen books, are they going to get caught? Are they going to get in trouble? Because they're all going to rat me out if that's the case. So I want to make sure, let's do like a small load, like 10 books or something like that. I'll find 10 people to sell to. And when they
What
return
a
them,
crazy idea to make money. It's
fucking wild,
very
dude.
creative.
Very wild.
It is.
Well, it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity that just kind of fell on my lap.
Yeah.
And this guy started telling me about this shit. And I mean, I'm just crazy with like ideas and shit. And I mean, even more reckless when I'm doing drugs too. I don't care about consequences, or I just don't think about them. So I go to some athletes, people that I'm friends with, 10 different people. And the rule was textbooks only. I'm only doing textbooks, economics books, statistics books. You pay cash only, and whatever the book costs, half off cash only. So if it was a $200 textbook, just give me $100 cash and it's yours. So I take 10 orders, I go, I coordinate with this manager, go to the school bookstore, pull my truck around. He kind of tells me what's what. The door's open. I go in there, grab the 10 books, and peace out. Sell them.
Does dude want to cut?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was about $100. Let's say I made about $100 a book. It's about $1,000 that I made. And we split it 50-50. 500, 500. Now, I wanted to wait for the semester to completely cycle through so that when these people return the books, there were no issues with them returning the books.
Okay.
Sure enough, they return all the books. No issues. No one says a peep to me about anything. And I asked one of them, I'm like, dude, did you return, like, you got your money? He goes, yeah, I got like $40 back from my book. Only paid 60. It's great, you know?
Wow.
So then I'm like, all right, next semester. Now it's spring semester of this first year that I'm doing this little operation. Springtime. Let's do 100 books. Great. We do 100 books, same thing.
All good.
All good. No issues.
Wow.
We make $10,000.
Damn.
5K to him, 5K to me.
That's good.
The next year, now I'm like, dude, let's do the fall semester. They offer quarter classes too. So let's do quarter classes. So that's like a 3-run hit in one semester. Quarter class 1, quarter class 2, semester.
Okay.
Then we do winter. Then we do spring, quarter class, spring semester. Then we do summer classes. We made $200,000 cash this second year. And then now, fucking greedy drug addict Kevin, I'm going to give him 80 and I'll keep 120. But I was handling all the money in the inventory.
That is an insane amount of money to make,
dude,
selling textbooks.
And I couldn't put it in any kind of bank account. It sat in my fucking room.
Oh.
But it wasn't $120,000 one lump sum. It was like, okay, 10K here, 8K there. The crazy thing is, Lewis, I have nothing to show for this fucking money. Now I'm doing Oxy 80s were around, fucking, I'm running around treating all my friends out at the bars.
Playing the big shot.
Living this. Dude, it's funny because everyone at my school, I come from a middle-class family in Long Island. Like, I didn't grow up privileged or anything like that. Everyone at the school thought I was just fucking privileged kid from Long Island. Little did they fucking know. And I just had cash, like cash on cash. It was wild.
That's like a dream for a drug addict like us in that situation.
I'm laughing now because it was just so ridiculous. And I ended up making amends with
right on.
with everything
Yeah.
in sobriety. And we end up going back the third year doing it, get away with it again for the fall semester, quarter classes, fall semester, winter. Now spring comes around. And I'm doing my first run for the spring semester. I pull my truck around. I go grab the first 10 books, put them in my car. I go get the second 10 books. And as I turn around and go in the car, there's a lady and 2 police officers standing there. The lady was the general manager of the bookstore, and the cops obviously were the cops accompanying her. And she looks at me and she goes, "This is where all of our books have been going for the last 2.5 years." She's like, "Do you know how many jobs we had to cut? How many families whose, husband or wives are just not employed anymore because we were losing money at our school bookstore?" And she's like, "How long have you been doing this for?"
Oh, she laid it on thick.
And the cops let her. The cops were just, and they didn't even handcuff me yet. They were just letting her fucking drill me.
Oh,
And then,
which is almost worse.
yeah. And I kept answering her. I kept saying, like, "You're not supposed to fucking talk." And I'm like, "No, like, I've never done this before. This is my first time. Blah, 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 blah." And then it just, after like 30 seconds, it just clicked. Like my father always said, don't fucking don't talk to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just shut up. And I just said, "I'm not saying anything." And then the cops turned me around. You have the right to remain silent. Boom, boom, boom. So I get put in the police car. They take me to the precinct. They book me, mugshot, fingerprints, and then they handcuff me to the ring on the table.
How's that for you? Like first time in jail, in trouble? Are you freaking out? Are you like you think you're so smart it doesn't matter? You're gonna get out of it?
You want to know something? It was the latter. I think, like, I'll get through this. Like, I wasn't shocked. I didn't have that moment like, this is what my life is coming to. I was like, I'll weasel out of this. I'll figure something out.
Right.
And I don't hide this. And, some people think like, I didn't grow up in a privileged family. I grew up in a middle-class family. I had a father who fucking cared. And like, I will not raise my child like my father raised me, in the sense that getting me out of every situation, because I had no consequences.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my father will get me a lawyer and I'll get out of this. Like this is the asinine. I was an egotistical fucking brat. And I was like, I'll get out of this, just like I get out of everything. So I'm sitting there, and I had another topic. I had an internship lined up for that summer. And it was a family friend who got me the internship. And I was in the last round of interviews, and the family friend said, "Kevin, human resources is going to call you for the last round of interviews. Just make sure, they just want to make sure you have a fucking pulse. Just pick up the phone at 12 o'clock on Friday, noon." It was 11:40 a.m. Friday, and I'm sitting there handcuffed.
Oh.
And I look at I look at the police officer. I said, "Hey, listen," I said, "I know this is horrible. I have a call at 12 o'clock. It's for an internship. It's an interview." I said, "As you can see from my record, I've never been arrested before. Please, can you just help me out here? Because this could help me better my life, please." And he was like, he ended up letting me do it.
Wow.
He got my phone. He uncuffed one arm, left one handcuffed and one to the ring, freed up one arm for me, gave me the phone, and he said, "Kevin, don't make me fucking regret this. And I'm letting you do this because I know you were a student athlete. And I know you're not a horrible person. You're just making terrible decisions. I'm going to let you take this call. Don't make me fucking regret it." Sure enough, the lady calls at fucking 12 o'clock. She goes, "Hi, Kevin Lanning, how are you? What do you like to do for fun?" And I'm just like, "Well, I like to play sports. I like to, I'm very artistic, and
Do
all
you
this."
feel like a fraud in that moment?
Yeah, but fraud was normal to me. So it didn't feel
Right.
like anything abnormal.
Just what you do.
It felt normal to
Yeah.
me. And as this is happening, like, people are getting booked behind me. Like, criminals are walking behind me handcuffed. And I end up getting the internship. And it was just another, like, stripe where I was just like, yep, fucking
I knew it.
manipulated that
Yeah.
situation.
Duh.
So I get, no surprise, my father bails me out. I go and I get sent home. I go home. A week later, I get a letter in the mail from the university. Kevin, you have been terminated from school. I'm like, fuck. Okay. I get an attorney because I have my hearing, I guess, 45 days from when it all happened. I had to go in front, of the judge and go through everything. So I go to my attorney the week after I get that letter. He says, bring all the documentation, tell me what happened, et cetera, et cetera. So I bring it and I show him the letter. And he's like, you got terminated from the school? He's like, do you have anyone else representing you? I said, no. I said, you're my attorney. He's like, you haven't gone to court at all, right? I said, no. He's like, you ever hear of innocent until proven guilty? I said, yeah. He said, well, you haven't been found guilty in the court of law. These are allegations towards you. They took action based off of allegations.
Right.
He said, let's say you're playing, for like the Knicks or something. They have it in their contract that they can terminate you from the team, release you based off of allegations. Okay. He goes, with a university, they don't do that shit. He goes, I have to look over your university agreement, like what you signed. He's like, but I doubt they have that in there. He looked it over. They didn't have it in there. He said, so we could do one of two things. We could let the motions go through, and then you could try to sue the university.
Okay.
Or I could try to make a phone call to the dean of the school and let them know that they fucked up and see if they'll drop charges. And I said, the latter, 100%. I want to act like this never happened. Yep. I don't want to file a law. I could care less about a lawsuit. He calls. They end up dropping all charges against me.
Wow.
I get all my charges dropped. I go in front of the judge. He's looking. He calls me up. He goes, Kevin Lanning. He's like, I see what happened here. All charges are dropped, but you are not leaving my court without any repercussion. He said, you have to do 100 hours of community service.
Oh.
It's nothing, dude. It's a fucking slap.
Well, given what you could have.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And he's like in an ACOD, 6 months, stay out of trouble.
Okay.
And I left. And it was just another fuck. That was the theme in my life for the next 10 years following that. So I'm back enrolled in school and I pick things. And well, now I have no book scheme. So now I'm trying to come up with all these other different ways.
How do I make money?
Now I'm like going into dorm rooms and robbing
And you're
people.
still actively using OxyContin opiates?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm drinking occasionally, but I'm doing oxys all day, every day.
I mean, at this point, this isn't normal what you're doing.
Yes, but I didn't want to accept it.
Okay.
And I said the entire time, I mean, I'm doing multiple 80s a day. I'm selling them just to, for myself. Then I'm like selling them to like cut the losses on what I'm spending on.
Yep.
It just kept going backwards. And then I was... Dude, this is like really fucked up. I've actually never said this on a podcast before, but I would walk around and I would like, this is fucked up, man. I used to walk around and say I was like part of, like this foundation and collect donations and shit. And like, that's how I would get high.
I mean, hearing,
dude, that like,
hearing you say it's fucked up is like, yeah, it is. But when I hear you say it, knowing the shit that I've been through and having walked in your shoes, I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Checks out. But I understand what you're saying.
I'm not
fronting as somebody to take donations to buy drugs is
It's like really like that makes me feel sick in my stomach because like there are people that need donations and like,
I mean it's part of your story, man. It is what it is.
Yeah,
it
no,
happened,
I know.
It's certainly nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. So I go on and it's just the fucking sick cycle for years, right? I somehow end up it's weird. No matter what, like through all my use and partying and the destructive behavior, I always I always found someone to cheat off of on a test. Like I always set myself up to do well with work. I always showed up. I never missed a day of work, and I never came in late. It was weird. It was very weird.
You're like semi-functioning.
Yeah, but that's where that was like the justification to continue to do what I'm doing.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, I graduated college in 4 years, but I fucking cheated on every test. I studied like one time the entire 4 years that I was in college. It was bad.
I mean, we just cut corners, man. That's what we do. We'll try to find the fastest way to get what we want.
It's crazy.
We'll do anything.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I go on, I get a job. I get a job at Discovery Channel in advertising sales in Manhattan. So now I have health insurance. Now this was before doctor shopping.
Yeah, what year is this?
This is probably 2009.
Okay.
08, 9, 10.
Okay.
And I have health insurance. I'm going to Dr. A, going to CVS in New York to fill Oxys. Then I'm going to Dr. B. Then you can use insurance once.
Okay.
Then I'm going to Dr. B. I'm going to Walgreens in New York. Then I'm going to Dr. C. Then I'm going to Mom and Pop
Pharmacy
in New York. Now I'm in Manhattan. It's a one ferry ride over to Jersey. Now I'm going to Dr. D, CVS in New Jersey, and I'm doing this shit every month.
How many pills do you think you're getting from these prescriptions?
Well, in total, so I end up getting caught by the FDA.
Okay.
I had a month where it was February 2009, I want to say it was. 2,000 pills, Oxys I filled.
It's unbelievable how many pills they were prescribing back then and how readily available it was. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
The amount of pills that were...
It was insane, but it was paper prescriptions.
Mm-hmm. So
the FDA in Washington, D.C., as, let's say, your CVS pharmacy writes collects your prescription from the doctor, and then they have to send it into D.C.
Okay.
There was a 6-month lag by the time they were able to receive all the prescriptions and file it to your Social Security number.
Okay.
So by that time, it took 6 months after the fact. So February 2009, I believe it was. It was either 2009, 2010, but it was February. I'll never forget. And it was August. I get a letter to my house, and I wasn't living at home. My father saw a letter to me from the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, the government. It had the fucking gold-plated fucking
the seal or stamp or whatever, yeah.
And he's like, this can't be fucking good. And he opened it. And sure enough, it was a warning. They sent out warnings to start.
What was the verbiage? Like, what does it say?
It said, we're reaching out to you because you filled 2,000 pills from X amount of doctors in the month of February. This is a prosecutable crime. And it gave like the actual terminology, like what the charges
could happen,
were.
Yeah.
This is a warning. If this happens again, it didn't say this verbatim, but there's going to be legal trouble to follow.
Wow.
Federal legal trouble. And that scared me.
Yeah.
That scared the shit out of me.
That's big time.
That scared the shit out of me. So... so far, from what I've heard, you've caught a lot of breaks, man. Dodging bullets.
A lot of breaks.
Dodging bullets. Oh, it doesn't stop.
Do you think that helped you when it came time to get sober? Or you think it hurt you?
Hurt me. Well, I wouldn't say it hurt me when it came time to get... Well, I guess, yeah, to answer your question, it hurt me because the time that came to get sober was much later.
Right.
I think if... I didn't get if I wasn't able to skate by on the book, the book thing, I maybe would have stopped way earlier.
Right.
Because of the, I heard you say this. When things are going really fucking well, it's the opposite from like when my fucking back is against the wall and I have nowhere to go and my odds are real fucking slim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay sober.
Mm-hmm.
When things are going fucking great, and my back is not, and I know I have options.
Yeah.
And I'm not pigeonholed by the U.S. government or, the university or whatever, law enforcement. I'm fucking using, man. I'm partying.
Yep.
I used to I'm in sales like yourself. I was in sales like yourself. And every time I would get a bonus check, like I would get sober here and there, like for a month or a couple weeks. And every time I would get sober, I would get like a bonus check or like a promotion at work. I'd be like, fuck it, I'm going to go get high.
Celebrate.
Just one time.
Yeah.
Just one time. I could stop tomorrow. I'm going to break the cycle this time. Like, it's going to be different this time.
Never works.
No. So now the doctor shopping is off the table. And I am now on the street. Now I'm like stealing from my mom jewelry. Like, I'm going home fucking.
The stereotypical drug addict shit.
Yeah. Stealing everyone's change. Going to fucking.
Going to the Coinstar.
Yeah. Like, got people that I am friends with. I'm like, dude, I can get Oxys. I can get Oxy 80s. And this was like when OPs were out and jail form. And I'm like, I can get you Oxy 80s, blah, 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 blah. Someone would front me like $240. Get them a bunch of Oxys. And I would bring them back like green pills I just bought at CVS.
Yeah.
And give them to him and be like, dude, this is what the fucking guy gave me.
I don't know, man.
Bro.
This sucks.
I'm sorry, bro. And.
Oh, I know it too well.
Yeah, I did that shit. So I was just coming up with whatever ways, man.
Yeah.
And I was justifying everything because I still had a job. I had a decent job. And I was justifying it because of that. So it got to a point where, I walk around at about 210 pounds. I was maybe 160, 165, maybe 170, and looked horrible. And I get interventioned by my family.
Oh, like a legitimate intervention?
Not the show intervention,
well,
but
right,
a legitimate show.
Yeah.
But a legitimate intervention.
Okay. Tell me about that.
They were so I was living in New York City. Everyone lived out in Long Island. My parents, my brothers. I have two brothers, their wives. It was a holiday. I don't remember exactly what holiday it was, but I was out there for something, and we celebrated the holiday. I want to say it was maybe like Thanksgiving or something. And then the next day, I sleep at my brother's, who's in Long Island, and everyone. I wake up late. I wake up. I go downstairs. Everyone's sitting in the living room. And there's.
Did you know before it happened when you came down and everyone was sitting there? Were you like, "Fuck"?
I was like, "Oh, like we all are having breakfast.
What are we doing, guys?
Like we're having. Did you guys bring bagels or like what's the deal?" And then I saw a face I didn't know in there. It was the interventionist.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh. And my father was in healthcare, and I started dabbling a little more back with prescriptions, though, at this time. But, like, I was doing it legitimate. Like, I was just going to one doctor, one prescription.
Right.
And I would get, like, 200 Oxys from that one prescription a month. That would last me maybe 3 or 4 days.
Still insane.
So he had my prescription history for, like, the last 6 months. And he's like, Kevin, we know you have a problem with opiates. You are using. And I was like, no, I'm not using. I said, listen, I needed money. I'm not making enough money at my job. Someone's paying me to fill the prescription, like, using my name to fill the prescriptions. They're going to the doctor, Like, Kevin, like, stop. Like, we know, we love you. Like, we're not here to attack you, the whole nine. And I just kept, no. You got to go away. You got to go away. And then I'll never forget, this was like the first time that I was like, someone was able to speak to me. The interventionist, this guy Peter, was 20-something years clean and sober. And he said, Kevin, listen, you can do whatever you want. You really can. Like, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want. You're going to, first off, you're playing yourself. You think you're lying to everyone in this room. You're lying to yourself. He's like, he said, what are things that mean the most to you? And he wrote them on he brought like this little easel or whatever, wrote them, and he goes, if you continue to keep using, And he wipes them all off. He goes, "You're not going to have fucking anything. You're going to end up dead. You're going to end up in jail. And that's it. It's going to be one of the two.
Yep.
You're not going to, you've done, like, the institution shit is only, like, you know, only will work for so long. Like, you'll go to a couple institutions and you'll just stop going to them. Like, you're going to end up in jail or dead."
Yep.
So I broke down, and it was like the first time that I was like, that someone was able to kind of like break through to me
And get you to
commit
talk and
commit to go away for 30 days.
Okay.
And I ended up going away for 30 days. I went to Cairn Treatment Facility in Pennsylvania. I went there. It was the most amazing experience that I ever had
Really?
in my life. Yeah, it was amazing. I went there.
How was detox?
Detox fucking sucked.
Because
dude,
you had a heavy habit. Because
of oxys.
for me, I was probably doing 120 milligrams a day, ballpark. I assume you're doing 1 or 2 a day.
Yeah, I was doing a couple 80s
I mean,
a
that
day.
detox is vicious.
Yeah. It was. I mean, I didn't shit straight for probably 6 months, dude. I'm not even joking.
I
with
know.
You. Like, it was bad. Like, it was flu-like symptoms. It felt like my bones. I had to like lay on the floor because like it like helped. With
Yeah.
my bones.
The not sleeping part is, to me, the fucking worst part of it. And I know every time I'd go to jail, I'd be up for fucking 2, 3, 4 days at a time. You get to the point where you're like seeing fucking colors, and like the not sleeping part is what kicked my ass. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It was terrible. So I go through, inpatient. I go into sober living. They recommended it. I did it. I was like, you know what?
Which is a great idea.
Great idea.
After an inpatient rehab, you really still need that support.
Yes.
When you finish.
1,000%. And
Yeah.
I did it, and it was great. And I lived with sober people for 6 months. So technically 7 months I was in some kind of structured
Mm-hmm.
living community. Now, this is in 2013.
Okay.
And this is not when I get sober.
Okay.
But it was a great experience. I do all that. I now get out of sober living. I move in with someone who's sober. Him and I are living in Manhattan together now. He's working his job in Manhattan. We're both sober. We go to the same home group. We find a home group and get commitments. I get a sponsor, start working steps. I go through the steps, but I don't make all my amends on step 9. I still have amends that I have to make.
Okay.
I stay sober for 3.5 years. I'm sober, clean.
Your
and
life is probably pretty good.
fucking great.
Yeah.
I got married during that time. I met my wife during that time. I got a job at Google during that time.
Wow.
I mean, everything I want. Got my own place.
You had
Anything
everything you
I
wanted.
really wanted. And the most important thing was I was trusted by my family.
Yeah.
I was trusted by my friends. I was a go-to person with friends. If someone had trouble with drugs or alcohol, send him to Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin's clean and sober now. Like he's
Isn't
changed.
that fascinating? You go from somebody that nobody can rely on to somebody that everybody can rely on.
It's amazing.
In recovery.
There's a high like in itself. with
Absolutely.
that. And it's not like an ego high.
Mm-mm.
It's a humble high. But it's just like it's another like accountable responsibility that you have to uphold that prevents you and keeps you further away from another drug or a drink.
Mhm.
It's great.
Yeah.
Self-esteemable act,
Sure.
So at about 2.5 years in of that sobriety stint, I pick up other, things are a little boring. I'm in recovery. I now settle down with a girl, and I'm not like running around. And, during that time, I was running around with girls. I was single,
Mhm.
but it was early sobriety.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the symptom thing. I'm doing what they're telling me to do, but am I really doing what they're telling? Am I taking all the suggestions? So now I start gambling. Now, we're not talking like $50 on a game. We're talking like, okay, we'll start with $50 on a game one weekend. Next weekend, it's 3 games, $50. All right, now let's do next weekend 5 parlay, fucking $100. And then I got 5 different straight bets, $500 a piece. To within a couple months, no, dude, I don't have money like this. I'm just putting it out there.
Mhm.
But $10,000 swings every week.
Jesus.
With my bookie. So one weekend I'm up 10 grand. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me, going up 10 grand the first week. The next week I go
First
down
one's
10
free.
grand. The next week after that I go down 20 grand. The next week after that I win 15 grand. And dude, my life was way more unmanageable doing that than it was when I was drinking and driving.
Really?
Yeah, big time. Because now I owe my bookie 25 grand, and I'm like, okay, well, I have this credit card. I gotta take a cash advance out on this credit because I don't have fucking money like that. And I'm like, oh my god, like I gotta borrow money from this person. I gotta do this, and this.
You just switched addictions.
Yeah. So
and that shit happens sometimes without you even realizing it. It's crazy, man.
Insane, dude.
Yeah.
So now I'm coming up on about 3.5 years sober. I end up stopping the gambling, but not too far before that 3.5 years. I'm still like maybe like a couple months, 3 years and 3 months I stopped gambling. And then a couple months later, I'm in the gym, I'm working out. I tear my rotator cuff again. And I tear it. They're like, it's a pretty bad tear. You got to go right in for surgery. Okay, cool. Done. Hey, doctor, I am a recovering addict. I can't have pain pills. My ex-wife, wonderful woman. Absolutely wonderful woman. We have a child together, and we're very good friends. We talk every day.
Good.
She's Finnish. She's not from America. She doesn't understand. I mean, normies usually don't understand the disease of addiction. They're easy to manipulate, but a foreign one is even easier to manipulate.
I can see that.
They don't have opiate painkillers in Finland. So they don't have OxyContin in Finland. So this poor girl, I'm like, honey, you're going to hold the meds if they give them to me. I'm not going to tell them to give them to me. It's the doctor's the medical professional. Right. I told him I am an addict. There was a reservation on my end. There definitely was. Spiritually, I was not in the right place to be going in for that surgery. So going for the surgery.
Well, but you did some of the things you were supposed to do. You told the doctor. You told your wife.
But I wasn't honest with myself. I was honest with everyone else. I wasn't honest with myself. And I was going through those measures just so no one can fucking say anything to me. It was all manipulation, dude. So sure enough, I get out. She's prescribing them to me. Of course, I'm like, honey, you got to give me, they were Percocets. You got to give me 2 every 4 to 6 hours. To me, that meant 2 every fucking 4 hours around the clock. Like, not by pain, not 1, not a half, not 6 hours, not, okay, we're going to skip this 4 to 6 hour window because I don't have pain. It was 2 pills every fucking 4 hours. I was sticking to that prescription because I didn't want to relapse. It wasn't technically a relapse. I mean, I'd relapsed already in my head. So then I go to the doctor behind her back. Hey, doc, physical therapy, the scar tissue, the whole 9, finagle another like 4 months of prescriptions. Now I run out. I go to the ER by myself. I'm like, I think I have an infection in my arm. Like, they prescribe me Percocets.
Jesus.
Then make the decision to go to the street. And I was out for 1 year and 3 months.
What is that like after having time and sobriety? Because, obviously we always hear that, that'll ruin the high. It'll ruin the fun now that you've been exposed to the world of recovery. So I have to imagine it was a fucking nightmare in your head.
Yeah, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it is so fucking disgusting and ridiculous. And I'm like laughing because I'm like happily relieved I never have to feel that again. It was terrible. Because I knew that there was a better way. I was at one point in that 3.5 years of sobriety, I was genuinely happy. And I was in fear for so long that once I put drugs and alcohol down, I was never going to be happy again. The party was over.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand someone being happy without drugs or alcohol. Like, I couldn't
Yeah,
fathom
it seems
that.
impossible.
It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And because I was able to achieve that, and I knew it was possible, and I knew that when I would get high and it would be Tuesday at 8 p.m., well, that's when my home group met. And I would look at the clock,
yeah.
and it's like
Fuck.
8:15, and I'm like, everyone's at the fucking meeting, and I'm here getting high right now. And
Sucks.
during that year and 3 months, I heard you say this. I tried every which way. I would go to meetings. I would go to meetings for drugs and drink, but not do the pills or weed or whatever. Or I would go to, a drinking 12-step program, but then like I could do other drugs, just not painkillers.
Sure. Yeah, there is. I know the loophole you're talking about there, the whole singleness of purpose thing, where you can convince yourself.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit, dude. You know damn well in your head what you're doing. So then then I'm like, all right, I'm stopping everything. I'm going to go to meetings, but I'm not doing step work, or I'm not getting a sponsor, or I'm not going to meetings. I'm just going to stay abstinent. Like, dude, I tried it, and it just prolonged the misery. And one of my final straws was this is a long story, and I'll make it very quick, but I end up getting pills from someone in the Bronx. It was not my regular drug dealer. It was a friend of a friend. They were fake. They were fentanyl pills. I didn't know. I thought they were Roxy Blues.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up blacking out. I hit another car. We both totaled our cars. I run from the accident. They do not leave in an ambulance. I call someone that's a family friend of mine who's in law enforcement. They went to the scene, covered for me, filled out the report, did everything. Because they didn't leave in an ambulance, they were okay, thank God. I was able to escape by.
Unbelievable.
But everyone in my family caught wind of it. I get the intervention again.
Round two.
Round two. It's February 2018.
Jeez.
And again, I'm laughing because, like, I'm just grateful I'm not in that position.
I mean, dude, if we couldn't laugh at some of this shit.
No, of course.
I mean,
there's remorse, and like, I could have hurt someone. I could have killed those people easily. And thank God I didn't. So I go, they're like, you got to go away again. You got to go away. You got to go away. Increase the odds of you staying sober.
Mm-hmm.
And like yourself, I need to be like dragged out by my neck. And for some reason, Lewis, I'd never been able to do this before, but I was like, my father was like, you're going away. Like, you can't do it yourself. I was like, I can fucking do this myself. I can do it. Like, meaning I can go right into a self-help meeting, not have to go away. I have my network. I have my sponsor.
You know how to do it. You learned how to do it.
Yeah. And I go in. I was like, Dad, I have an idea for you. And everyone can hold me fucking accountable. I will buy drug tests. I will keep them at my house. And Krista, my ex-wife, wife at the time, I'll give them to her. If I ever refuse a drug test from her, we'll call it a failed drug test.
Okay.
And I'll go away. If I fail a drug test, I'll go away.
Okay.
I said, give me one chance to do this in meetings and try to do this without having to go away. Because I was I'd already been away to rehab at the current job.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to have to go away.
Oh, yeah.
Because then it would have started to really hurt my reputation. And I'm like, please let me try it. They're like, fine. You know what? Okay, go ahead. So I go to meetings. I jump right back in. I put my hand up. Day 20 comes. I'm sober, clean and sober, 20 days. I'm about to walk out of my apartment in New York City. I'm with my wife at the time, and I was like, hey, I want to get high. It hit me. Like that thought just popped in my fucking head. You know what? I'm going to get high today. I can do it one time.
Sounds good.
I don't know why I said it to her. I said, hey, I said, if you and I walk out that door downstairs, I said, I will find some way to break away from you and I'm going to go get high. Don't let me walk outside. And she goes, okay, let's go in our apartment. What are you supposed to do? I'm like, I'm supposed to call someone. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking call anyone. She goes, call Mark, your sponsor. I was like, all right. It was Sunday at like 5 o'clock. He has 2 kids and a wife. He's got a family. I called Mark. I'm like, dude, I want to get high right now. He's like, where are you? I said, I'm at my apartment. He goes, all right, I'm 10 minutes away. You know, have your wife walk you to the Starbucks at this location. Have her stay there with you. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Once I get there, she can go home.
Wow.
This fucking dude was at dinner with his family, got up, peaced out, drove, met me at the Starbucks. He sat with me from 5 o'clock until Starbucks closed. Then we went over to a diner. He sat with me until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And
That's amazing.
the feeling in that moment passed. I didn't want to get high anymore. It decreased. Like it was still there a little bit, but it decreased significantly.
Oh, yeah.
He drives me home. He says, dude, when you wake up in the morning, call me. We'll go to a meeting in the morning before we both go to work. We did that. Put your hand up in the meeting. Okay, I have 21 days. I wanted to get high last night. He followed me to a meeting every day that week and made me put my hand up and rat myself out how earlier that week I wanted to get high. The feeling passed. The urge passed. I didn't understand what. Whenever I had a thought, I thought impulsive. Like I gotta act on it to get rid of that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand that feelings can pass. The feeling passed. I'm coming up on 7 years in February of sobriety. I have not had an urge since day 20.
Congratulations on the 7 years.
Thanks, dude.
First of all. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing what people in recovery will do for you and expect nothing in return. I mean, that guy helped change your life. I mean, that week, 20 days to 30 days, I mean, that's incredible what he did for you.
Dude, that was a turning point in my life. And that was when I made the decision that I'm actually going to stay sober. And I'm actually going to do the program. And I'm going to make my financial amends to the university. Make those amends that were sitting out there that I never made the 3.5 years sober when I relapsed.
And that's the work that I've seen people skimp on that ultimately will send them back out. You know, if you don't do it the way it's written and supposed to be done, seen people go back out for not doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that you did it is why you're sitting here today with the time you have.
Yeah. Look, today I go to meetings. I have a home group. I have a commitment. I do my podcast, Rise Above with Kevin Lanning, where we discuss sobriety as well. It's one aspect of many that we discuss. But I'm an active member in sobriety. I sponsor. I go through, step work. I do my step work refresher every couple of years. I probably need to go through that again. But I dude, I have to, because I'll forget fast. I will forget very fast what it was like. And then things will start to look good. It'll start with like maybe a girl, and like that chick's kind of hot, but she's married. Like,
Yep.
I'll fuck around with that, see what's
Yep.
up, and then it's like, well, now you're married, and why don't you?
Yeah, you cross that
just,
invisible line in the sand, and then
crazy
it slowly snowballs. Like, you could do something that has nothing to do with using or drinking, but it's wrong, and that's what leads you back to using and drinking.
It's using another symptom. But anyways, so it's very important. I'm big on self-esteemable acts and selfless acts. I'm a very selfish person. I sorry people, I'm fucking selfish. Surprise. If you didn't already know that. But no, dude, like I'm in my head a lot of the time, and I still have those insecurities. I still have the fear. I still have resentments. That shit is still, just because, I don't do drugs or drink today, like, it doesn't mean my thinking still is not the same.
Yep.
It is. Today I'm just more aware of things and know that it's bullshit thinking in my head, but that gets more, the thinking gets more and more real the closer I get to a drink or a drug, like when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Are you happy? 2 questions. Are you happy with where you're at today? And the second question is, are you happy in general?
Yeah. I am happy in general. My life is beyond, I should not be living the life I live today. I have a 5-year-old daughter. She's never, obviously, do the math, since she's been alive, I've never
so important.
drank or drug. Me and her mother are divorced today. We had an amicable divorce. We're very close. We're very good friends. My daughter is the most important person in my life. We have 50-50 custody. If I miss her one day and her mom has her, I could just call up her mom and say, hey, I'm going to come get her. And we do vice versa.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing in my life. I gave up my job at Google in February, March, earlier this year. They wanted me to move back to New York. I moved to Florida during COVID. I was working remotely, and her mom lives in West Palm, so her mom's not moving back to New York. So that would have meant I was a part-time dad, and I'm not doing that bullshit. I don't fucking care about any job anymore because my identity was my job for so long.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I don't even fucking care. And when I started to let go of the things that I thought were making me happy and showing up for my daughter, showing up, the podcast helps a lot of people.
Absolutely.
It creates awareness. Your podcast, my podcast, like they create awareness, and we're helping people. I'm not a body broker. I don't traffic people into rehabs to make money. I don't fucking make money that way. That's not how I make money. I don't do that shit. And I am creating awareness. To the self-esteemable acts, they're not selfish. Selfishly, I would have went and moved back to New York and worked at Google and been a part-time dad.
Right.
Being a dad is tough. It's not easy, but I see the joy that it brings to my daughter.
You get to be a dad today.
Yeah.
You get to do the podcast today.
Yeah.
You get to do all these things.
Exactly. So am I happy? Yes, I am so happy, but I'm also very hard on myself. You and I were talking about this. Ian's a good friend of mine, Ian Bick. Ian Bick's podcast has exploded.
Yeah.
I think he was number 5 last week on Spotify. Insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I'm with him all the time. I'm constantly comparing myself to him. He's an anomaly.
Yeah.
I think he achieved 100,000 subscribers in less than a year.
Yeah, which
on
is
YouTube, which is
insane.
Insane. He does over 1 million streams a month. I mean, it's a great thing sometimes, but it's also, it could be detrimental in some cases to, my barometer and where I'm at.
I get it,
drives
man.
me crazy and gives me anxiety, and so
I get it.
I compare myself a lot, and it's tough for me to take a moment, take a vacation, smell the roses, and be grateful. So
every time, first of all, thank you for sharing so openly. It doesn't matter who I sit down with. Whenever I sit down and do a podcast with somebody and get the opportunity to hear their story, it helps me. And it's just so fascinating to see where people have come from and what they've been through to where they're at today. And, I said it earlier, people like us, when they choose to get it together, they deserve a second chance. And that's what this is about, man. And you're a great example of that.
Appreciate that.
From what I can see.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for having me on. It meant a lot. It's an honor, a privilege, and I appreciate it, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
All right.